Having a large outfeed table such as this can really help you maximize the use of your table saw, especially if you have a tiny job site saw like I do. There's nothing like having a long outfeed table like this to support long rip cuts, and having it at the same level as the top of the table saw is much safer because the wood doesn't flex at all or drop off whenever you run it through the saw. However, if you have your table saw at the same level as your outfeed table, you have to cut miter slots. When I was getting ready to cut slots into my table, I couldn't find a good reference on how to do so. So I've decided to make a video. If you'd like to see how I did this, go ahead and stick around.
First thing I did was mark layout lines. I used a scrap of plywood and a level as a straight edge to ensure my lines were parallel to the miter slots. I would eventually make the cut a 1/16 of an inch outside of each layout line to allow for the guide bushings on the miter gauge and sawdust.
So I want to be able to clear the blade with a 24-inch crosscut sled. So I'm going to come out here and mark 24 inches on the table beyond where the leading edge of my blade is. And that'll be how far out.
Here I'm setting up to cut a nice wide straight edge out of a scrap of Baltic birch plywood. I want a wide straight edge so that it's nice and stiff and doesn't flex whenever I push my router up against it. I used a straight 2-flute router bit to make my cut. When setting up the router cut, I laid my straight edge on its side to maximize its stiffness. I clamped it to the table saw fence so I could adjust it side to side as needed. When setting the depth stop of my router, I set it about a 32nd of an inch or a millimeter deeper than the saw's miter slot to account for sawdust in the tracks. I recommend cutting at incremental depths and making multiple passes in order to prevent hogging, where the router might grab and cut sideways, tear out, and burning. I also cut the 2 outer edges of my slots first, and then cleaned out the inside of the track material with multiple passes and a chisel. And then I went back over the surface to touch it up with the router. I got a really great surface finish. Because of the way my table saw is mounted to my workbench, I only really had to make one complete miter slot cut. For the outer one, I just had to make a few passes to clean up and make sure that there was a clearance for the miter gauge. It does support the bottom of a crosscut sled and the miter gauge a little bit on that edge.
Once you cut slots into your outfeed table, you have plenty of room for accessories like this miter gauge or a crosscut sled like this. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks for checking it out.